Eden Koz here with Just Be, and we are about to take a spiritual boom. We are at an unprecedented time in human history where we are transitioning from 3D to 5D within the great spiritual awakening. This video and audio podcast is the place for you to find your truth beyond politics, your sovereignty, your voice. Let's kick up your vibration now. By the way, each episode ends with the Just Be practice to do just that. And as we begin the show, just to know a little bit more about me, I'm a soul realignment specialist, meditation master, and dimensional healer. Learn more, and there's merch also at EdenJustBe.com. Let's get this party started. And then I also get energetically ready. Used to be a while longer I would shake, not so much anymore. Mm-hmm. Okay. Eden, Just Be, Spiritual Boom in association with the powerful, wonderful Grassroots Warrior Network. Hello, Barbara.
Hello.
Okay,
everyone listening.
What are you doing?
Huh?
What did you say?
Saying hello to everyone listening.
Awesome. Okay, Barbara's in California, but originally from Spain. So we'll talk a little bit more potentially about that as well. Hey, and I wanted to bring up, okay, so we're recording on September 25th, and these shows do not go live for 2 more weeks. So this will be done by the time this is aired. Yet I'm going to be speaking at the Unity Tour here in the beautiful city of Akron, Ohio. And this is so amazing how this has come to be. Lewis Herms with Screw Big Government, they've done a lot of truth tours, and they just changed the name to Unity, which is awesome because that's really what I've been focusing on. So many speakers and so many people that I'm connected with that have been on this podcast will be in each of the states. So even after Akron is done on the 28th, there are going to be more places there where they are going to go. So to me, like all my like-minded friends are going to be there. To me, it's about community. It's about being there, and I will be bringing a very spiritual angle to everything. Yet there will be patriots, truthers there, all kinds of people. And from what I understand, I haven't been to a Lewis event yet. I know a lot of people that know him. That it's all about bringing everybody together in harmony, talking your truth. And for me, it's just like a full circle event that I'm going to get to be me in my own city, where 4 years ago, I was deemed as, who are you now? Eden, you're crazy. I took classes with you and I can't trust you anymore. So now it's all coming back. And I got on my dimensional girl shirt, which I love. Okay, so Barbara, for a second, before I read your bio, we did an energy medicine healing just a couple days ago, which was wonderful. So I want to talk about that for a minute, because I've been doing this for a long time. So I knew I could trust Barbara. So I'm very discerning about who I go to as well. And I'm game for anything. So one thing we were going to focus on was my hips, and it's really tight down there. So turns out it was some beliefs that I needed to work on it. And knowing that, doing the spiritual stuff is like peeling an onion. So you might have a belief that circles back around to you that you're presented with. So I wanted to share some of these with you guys, especially some of my younger clients that are really working on body image. Okay. So Barbara, one of them was, I'm not attractive. Okay. And I don't like how my body looks. Yeah. And there you were, just to deliver these beautiful pieces of truth. How did it go for you?
I think working on beliefs it's super important. And we are made of our beliefs. So, there's so much that we believe that is limiting, that we don't even know, because I say very much like we're like these computers and we're coded with all this information, which doesn't necessarily, like some of your beliefs in your session were inherited, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't it?
Yes.
So like our beliefs, they're not in our brain that most people think, they're in our energy field. And some are like, so it's past generational, or some, like mostly we make them up like we create this beliefs from age 0 to 7,
Mhm.
basically. So like we don't even know we have them. They're so deep in our subconscious, and we're just guiding our life because of this. And it's also beliefs can be
Yes.
like from collective, the collective consciousness that's imposed on us. So um, I think for us to evolve, we have to look at these beliefs that are
Yes.
limited, because these beliefs for most of us also, like, they're keeping us small. They're keeping us thinking that we're interconnected from the rest. They're keeping us thinking that we are like this and then separated from everything else. And where we start shifting is understanding that, like, we are connected to everything and that we have an impact on everything. And once, it's like sort of like opening up, because we can think it, but maybe we don't believe it inside. We can think it because we've listened to people saying it so much, like, oh, everything's interconnected, everything is energy, change your energy and change your life. But like, but the belief underneath, so those things that you said, you were like, whoa, I have these beliefs still, or something, they're beliefs underneath which do not let you really understand that information. They're limiting us. So it's super key to work on our beliefs and whatever.
Yes.
And we have beliefs that make up our physical reality, because if we believe certain things are like, so that's why when we change our beliefs and we change, which is changing our energy, because beliefs are energy, we also change physically. The more we and like diseases or like,
Yes.
things can be changed through belief, but also just our physical. Like, I've seen it in myself, like, as I've changed beliefs, my heart has been able to expand more, so my physicality, this part has expanded more, that I can bring more in. Like, it's just our physical body changes. I see it like when I'm working with people, as their physical body
Mm.
changes.
Yes. And I
And
have to add to that too. It also,
energy too.
oh yeah. And it doesn't matter how long you've been doing stuff, because as you open up more, there are more beliefs to dig into, more depth. And one of the beliefs that you came up with was that essentially, I'm not saying this 100% correct, that work is hard. And it turns out that that belief was given to me from my mom. And then there were 4 generations beyond that. So really working on clearing that out is
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah, and for everyone to understand, it's not like that I came up with it. It's like what happens is we connect. So like each person, as I was saying, is this computer, and they have this sort of like software, right? This whole like memory drive, huge. That's our unconscious. It records everything we've gone through in life, everything, from anything, like everything with Eden, any event we've had, any person we've met, what we've worn, everything that your conscious mind sort of can't store. We forget what we've eaten 2 days ago. Our subconscious mind, that software remembers everything. So we can ask the subconscious mind, like, what is ready to, for you, it was like, what beliefs are associated
Yeah.
to these hits? Is there anything limiting you that is causing these? And then these things started coming up. But it wasn't something that I made up. It's your system itself, because it's ready to
Yes.
step into that and be. It was ready. It wasn't ready. Remember, it was very interesting, because when we asked your system, it wasn't ready to. I asked about beliefs straight away, and it wasn't ready to take us there. So we had to explore around, go into the body, and then it took us to mental energies, and then it asked to go into the beliefs. So it doesn't always, like, it has its own sort of, our subconscious has its own agenda. We're ready to release whenever we are, with every time, we peel things and keep going
Yeah.
deeper.
And it's great too, because this has been a, a not a challenge, but something that I've noticed for a really long time. And after our session, the next 2 days were just this radical, let's say, unclenching. Okay, and there's still more yet from where I was Monday, and then I had a massage, as Barbara knows too, which was really deep also. So for me, I am never going to stop growing, never going to stop having people assist me, knowing that we're also our own healers. Yet it is really nice to trust. And there's one thing from your website that I'm going to read in a second, but let me go ahead and read your bio so people know more about you. Okay, Barbara Canals. Did I say that
Yeah,
correctly?
perfect.
Oh,
Perfect.
shush. So great. Is a consciousness and energy activator, aura mediator, mediator, not
Yeah, we're a
meditator,
mediator.
mediator.
Sorry,
Okay,
a
or a
mediator.
mediator, and energy intuitive. She works internationally with balancing our energy systems and energy medicine, going to the root cause of issues with clients, integrating body, mind, and spirit. Her mission is to bring forth the new time energies to people who are ready to step into this golden age, being fully responsible for their own energy, ready to carry out their dharma and live in balance. She transmits the new time energies through the divine love language as a form of vibrational transmuting through aura transformation, which is a touch based method to upgrade our energy system, resulting in massive consciousness expansion, which we will talk about today. She also works with kinesiology and energy alignment, which are all systems to come into balance with the intention of coming into harmony and joy within. She speaks extensively in events, conferences, and summits about the new conscious paradigm, the new time energies, upgrading our energy systems, and the transformation healing process. She is a TED speaker where she has spoken about these topics too. Okay, this is a part of your website that I really loved and knew that you and I would be a match to work together. All this journey to trusting the energy has not been easy. I have had my openings and contractions, the moment of believing and the moments of great skepticism, a whole bunch of conditioning to release. We are extremely conditioned down to the core of our cellular memory to not trust. We feel like we are frauds, to not speak our truth, to not be true to our being and essence. That's powerful stuff. Love that. How did the golden age, this evolution that is happening, how did that come clear to you?
Because I've studied it and I've seen it. I've had images of this and I see it. You can see where the golden energy is and what we're going through. It's just part of our evolution. But it's been through a long time of studying and not understanding, and then finally really understanding when I had my aura transformation done. And that was like it all came together. That understand, you just know, and it's a knowing of what you just have this information inside you, because I think we all have it as we expand our consciousness, that information. So we all have that. We all have different roles here on earth or whatever, but like, and different information to come to us, but I just knew.
So,
And then you start correlating with other people also speaking maybe in different ways about the same thing, or
yeah.
speaking, I think yeah, for sometimes it could be very out there, and for me it just very grounded. To me it just makes perfect sense that we are going in the same way there was an involution on earth. There was like the dark ages and everything, something really darkness. We are now coming out of that darkness, which is less consciousness, into more consciousness. And what we're doing now, what we're part of our evolution, what we're doing is grounding our spirit or our higher self into our body. So basically our body before was very our body is everything is energy. Our body is a dense energy form. It's the densest form. If you magnified your finger or your skin, you would see it's all atoms, it's all energy, right? But our body was in a very dense form, which means it also carried a lot of emotional charge, a deep imprinting from karmic everything from past lives. And now, because of the opening of conscious, we're grounding our spirit into the body, this higher self into the body. So it's like there's everything in this universe is dual, right? There's
Yes.
dark and light and whatever. So like everything is energy. So like let's say like the darkest, densest part, our body is now grounding the light, our spirit, the more higher frequency. So it just, things have to happen of like we have to clear our emotional baggage and everything else for this spirit, this energy that we are to ground. But it's the first time that this is going to happen ever in our evolution, that we can keep evolving and become more conscious in the body form, or become our spirit embodied.
And that even like I know this, and the listeners know that something is happening. Yet every time I'm with someone and talk about the the grand scale that this is, I still just go, wow. Even though I know it, it's just and I don't know about you, Barbara, but every especially lately, really feeling like there's a catapult with people. There's just a more of an awakening now than there has been even just a month ago. What would you say to that?
Yeah, it's huge and it's different. Like, so what we were saying about the golden age, it started in 2012 and it was with a lot of like, people read the Mayan calendar and Vedic texts. Like, so all the sacred texts that have been around, they talk about this new time sort of thing, this golden
Yeah,
age. A lot of people took it as the end of the world, right? But it
right.
was the start of the new. And if you and then like in 2012, I was already working with energy with energy, and it was like an absolute shift of like you could sense the energy, the density. And as we've gone on, like right now, like it's so like beliefs like what we worked on the other day with
Yeah.
you, that would have taken back then, even in 2012, but even before more, it would have been so dense. We wouldn't have moved as quick as we did. We wouldn't have been like it just didn't happen like that because there was a lot more density on the planet. So what's happened is like these new frequencies, high frequencies coming especially like from Mother Earth, but also from the children coming in. So from 95 on, the children come with new energy systems. So they vibrate. They vibrate at higher frequency. They have this new energy. They have this new consciousness. So I mean, so they're elevating the frequency of the earth, you see, of humanity. So even older people are also changing, understanding that they have to match this consciousness. So it's like it's a it's just not a movement of a view, it's a movement of the whole structure of society.
Ah.
Yeah.
I do want to talk about kids and parenting, and that's another question I want to ask. So I want to keep that on my mind. Yeah, can you tell me about your history and how you came to do this work? What happened to you?
um so I think like for most of us, if not all of us, we come in and we're very sensitive children coming into a very dense reality, a very dense world. And for me, I had to sort of protect, we when we're not received in the world as we are, we protect ourselves. We create like um, energetic sort of like shields and everything else. So I shielded myself from all this sort of like energy world, even though I was very sensitive and tried to behave like I thought the I had to behave and the world was and be that normal square fit into the system. And
And this was in Spain, correct? Is that where you grew up?
this was yeah, but I've moved around a lot.
Okay, what
So
was what was it like growing up there?
in Spain,
Yeah.
mm, what do you mean with
Was it okay? So I grew up in the deep South in the United States, so very conservative, very constricted. Was it a little more open where you were, or still you got to work on fitting in? Was it really religious? Did you have siblings?
yeah, I had siblings. My upbringing is not very religious. It is very mm, very a tight system how it was like
Mhm.
you worked within the structures and there's no um space for I think what's more there's no space for being sensitive or
Got it.
being weak like
Yes.
our our whole society, and I think it doesn't matter where you come from, but I think it's like a pretty much global phenomenon this where sensitivity and vulnerability is seen as something negative, right?
Mhm.
There's been an override of the patriarchy, of the shadow masculine, the one that's go go go, doesn't listen, and it's like and it's and doesn't allow for the the beauty of inspiration and other um the non-visible, right? It's the very idea of
Yes.
the individuality. So that's where greed and competitiveness and all this comes from, and I took that on very lightly. I was like a very excelling child. I was very competitive in everything I did and tried to build it up. And what that brought was I wasn't listening, there was part of myself, so this very vulnerable, very special part, which is my gifts, and which is all of my gifts, but I had hidden them, right? I didn't want to
Yeah.
look at it. It was my shadow. I was like, I don't want to see this. So I'm just going to be this strong person that keeps on doing. And it broke me because it wasn't my path. It wasn't what I came here to do. So
Got
I
it.
started getting, I would have like all these different sicknesses and, things would come up. And all of a sudden I had like 8 ulcers in my stomach. So I had to start listening. And my way, like mostly the system will tell you just go to the doctor and take the pill.
Hmm.
Something inside me, this stayed with me where I was like, it didn't make sense to me. So I started discovering other ways, right? To me, my intuition has always been really strong and has taken me to discover. I haven't had the fear. Luckily, I've been able to travel a lot, and I never had the fear to just be on my own and discover and travel and stuff.
Okay. I have to ask you
So,
a question. Did
mhm,
you have 8 ulcers all at one time?
yeah.
What was that like? Was it you couldn't digest? How just pain
Yeah, I was
here?
like eating. I was like splitting blood, you couldn't
Oh my
digest, you
gosh.
can't anything. And they just came on and it was a big you know, obviously shock, a big scare. You don't have energy because if your stomach is compromised like that, I was like pretty
Mhm.
much like fainting. But they healed really quick. It was like a miraculous, it was like in a month or less, they were like off. And so I've had many things with this, with different things that would like sort of come on and straight away leave when it didn't really make sense. Or so I was always aware because it's like I could see these things where I was like, okay, things, I understood that there was something deeper to this. For me, those ulcers, what it was like this deep burning fire. So this is my work, this is my vulnerability, this part, like my fire, the truth of my heart. I was so off path that this all came up because my fire was bursting. For many people that have like, when we're really off our path and we have a lot of anger, repressed anger, because if we're not doing what we need to be doing, that is repressed anger, and it's sort of like it burns inside. For me, it was just like this burning fountain inside until it finds its balance. I had repressed so much of my truth. I repressed what I wanted to say, how I would see things, because in order to
Yeah,
like
me
fit
too.
in to that system in that way. So um yeah. So anyway, so in my healing process, and even before the ulcers, like I wouldn't go to normal doctors per se. I was like looking. I remember I was like working with like flowers and their essences, like all the flower essences, and seeing, like I could notice, I could sense without knowing what I was doing, but I could sense all these frequencies and how they were acting for me and stuff like that. Because everything on this earth is an energy, so it's a frequency. And yeah, and then I started. So I studied a lot on my own. I understood since very young, like very young, that everything had an emotional component to it. Like it didn't make sense to me that it just something, you just get sick or something, and I understood. Like I remember being really young and having Louise Hayes's book. Also, like I was young and I would get these given to me for some reason. These books would be like, oh, you'd
Oh,
be interested. Like, I don't know, a friend of my mom, or like a doctor or something. And she'd like, so it was like, so something in that happens when you're ready, things will, the books show up when they need to and stuff. So I sort of like, though, that stuff always made sense. Nobody in my surroundings would speak about that. But I was interested and I followed, and I would always follow that. So I went off and like, I started, when I couldn't take it anymore after my ulcer thing, which healed, and then again I would try and like keep going in the natural way, and I couldn't take it because it's like I, and I couldn't. When you get tired of yourself so much, of the person, which is tired, you're not tired of yourself, you're tired of your ego, of this persona that you've created.
mhm.
I had to find answers, and every time I would find more answers and understood, and I had to understand it more. And so I learned with wonderful people um, about how our whole like body and energy system works and stuff like that. Yeah. And then
Did
I
you
would put it into
find
practice straight away.
I just
Yeah.
interrupt you a little bit. Did you find a mentor or just certain people came up just on your path to help encourage you
I
in
would
a
call those
direction?
mentors. Like,
Okay.
I didn't follow any sort of, I've never been like somebody to stick to like follow any sort of traditions or stick
Yep.
to, I've done more what works for me, and I've found mentors. Like I've learned with people, I've studied with amazing um, master energy healers, you know, with like people that, I mean, predecessors to all this, people that are incredible. And yeah, all has been learned. Plus, I think we carry. So I needed to learn to intellectually understand everything that was sort of going on in my life. You know how
Mhm.
like, but and to help myself to heal, to come into balance, to everything. Um, so it was the compound of learning and also all the coding that one carries from, I don't know, I'm sure I've had many lives on this
Oh
planet,
yeah.
all planet everything, where I've been doing this work.
Okay.
Yeah. But
Under.
I was always really that part of like following my heart and following exactly where I knew where I had to get sort of the answers that I needed and who I had to work with and until what point, it was very clear.
So
And I'm very grateful for that.
did you quickly abandon the career that you were in and shift, or was it a gradual, oh, I'm gonna
Oh
keep
no.
my job and do this part-time? How did that happen?
Yeah, for me it was very gradual.
Okay.
I had very gradual. I had it, it was that's where I had a very hard time to accept this part. And you know there's um so it took a lot of peeling to do, but I still had to do it. So I would do both. I was able to do both, and I found both ways. And even when I could actually see, like, you know, so I had you have all of a sudden you work, and then all of a sudden you have very big jumps in your consciousness, like quantum jumps are in your healing process. And then um you keep chipping away at things, and then boom, another jump. So really big jump I had, where it was like I just saw all this. You see, when we shift in frequency, when we change our energy, our consciousness expands. So when we shift in frequency, it means when we heal. When so like I saw this mass of like I see it a lot like dark goo. And it's very interesting because then one time I was writing this on my newsletter, and that's in India, what the sages call like this goo, they call it the darkness, which is not darkness, it's just the low frequency vibration. So it's all our emotions of like guilt and fear and jealousy and anger and hatred, you know, all these things that we all carry within us. There's nothing we don't want to show them because we think there's something wrong with them, but like we all carry them and they're not actually ours, it's just been imprinted. And so I just saw how all of this left my body, this goo, this darkness. It was like a tar, you know, just leaving all my body. And all of a sudden and that was like nothing, 10 minutes. It was so quick, you know, 10 minutes and all this. And I could relate that to all the, you know, to all these emotions, all this tar that was leaving. And then, yeah, the next thing I noticed, I was like, I could see the energy around, and I could sense the frequency of the energy in everything. So in a glass of water, and if it was like more pure, what frequency it had, it was more coded. So it was like cleaner and a higher frequency than others, or the frequency of a, you know, I can understand energy and the frequency. So frequency of what like Coca-Cola was, or like what this was, or, you know, and I don't know why I'm saying this, but um,
Well,
yeah.
let's go into what did you notice with the frequency of Coca-Cola?
It was just I couldn't put it into my body anymore. You know, I made such a quick shift that
Yeah.
it was just a very low frequency for my, you know, as for my system, because my system had released all of that, so it just was not a match. It wasn't even in my reality. The same with like tobacco or things like that, you know. It was just like I just made so it's like you sort of like you're jumping to different islands or level, you know,
Yeah.
like platforms. And it was like that was on this platform that was sort of like very dense and toxic, and all of a sudden, so when we change our consciousness, which comes with healing, and we heal all this uh, density within us, all these low frequency emotions, we change. That's what I mean with we change our life. We start eating So when I work with people, for example, and then they'll be like, it's not on what we've worked on, but I'm like not eating compulsively now, or I'm like
Yep.
so calm. And I was like, yeah, because you shifted a whole tons of emotions. I don't know, anxiety or regret or this, that. And all of a sudden, that was what was attracting you, you know, to that you need to like compulsively eat or to eat those things that weren't good for you. Once you've shifted these emotions, then you're going to want to take care of yourself. And it's not uh, like a thought through process. It just comes out
This
naturally
happens.
because your energy is clean. So you're going to look for clean things, things that are good for you. Like I don't, um, yeah, I just, I don't think necessarily, I don't follow any diets. I don't think about what I eat. I find it really interesting because that's a mental process. A lot of people are still there, like, oh, what
Yes.
I feel like it's so, when your spirit is embodied, you're so tapped into the body that you're like, okay, where do you go to those things that you really, that your whole spirit, that your body's going to really want.
And
And
what was one of the biggest things when you started to see the frequencies? One of the most, I don't know if it's shocking is the word, or something that you didn't expect to be as low vibration that it was. Does that make sense?
mm, no, what do you mean?
So like going back to Coca-Cola and looking at that and going, oh my gosh, this is
Mm.
low vibration. I'm not going to put that into my body anymore. Was there something that you thought was good for you that suddenly when you started seeing these things, you're like, oh my gosh, that does not fit the frequency anymore?
Um, I don't know, not at the top of my mind. I remember this being really, it was an amazing
Mhm.
experience. It was super entertaining. Like I loved it. Like I've had other ones which have been more like, more, I've always loved them, but more challenging, more scared. I've had many like big,
Yeah.
sort of like crazy experiences. I would call them in the realm of crazy because they're non-explicable. And but this one I really enjoyed. It was like it
Nice.
just like it just made so much sense because the way I was showing, like if you just release all this stuff, be it emotional baggage that we're carrying, being all these regrets, all that, you release this, you just come out in another place with another reality. And it was so clear to me. It was so and then of course then you're like, oh, okay, so we've created, because we all carry all this stuff, we're creating all this stuff, of like, so the Coca-Colas of the this, the that, things that are not good for you, all the stuff processed and sugars, because we carry these things, we create that, right? Even like the system itself. So it's like the more of us that change and we release our baggage, the more we're going to choose the other stuff. And if the more of us that choose the other stuff to eat, like healthy vegetables, and that you I don't know, and it doesn't have to be healthy vegetables, but just things that are done good, because you can have, so I feel like eating pizza or whatever, I love it, but it's
Yeah.
like I'm gonna eat from that it feels, because you can eat like a pizza that has that energy, that frequency of done with no grace, no love, nothing, or you can have a
Yes.
pizza where it's like, done nicely with another energy. So
Right.
yeah, the more of us that change that, the more of this other thing we're going to be creating.
Well, and
So that was,
I'm going
yeah.
to add in here, I don't mean to interrupt you again, that there are so many things that as you go through the spiritual awakening journey that can be tough. So it's so nice to hear you also say, because there's bliss too, there's entertainment, there's okay, I've got to go through this thing that's kind of radical, kind of hard. Yet when I get on this other side of that, it's going to be great. Yet this was, I don't have to get on the other side. It's just, wow, this is great right now. I'm so excited about that.
Yeah.
Okay,
The
can
the
we?
hard the
Yeah, go
hard
ahead.
thing of like, what the hard thing in the journey is not actually the journey. It's our mind.
Yeah,
It's our
good
ego mind,
point.
you know, that is stuck with like wanting things because we not want change. We don't want to accept things. But like if we see it from an expanded perspective, and we see it from
Mhm.
like a higher mind, it's like, okay, it's only an experience. It changes completely. So um, we can be a lot more entertained with things. I think now we can access all those states so much easier, which is so cool for people, because it was, I think, much tougher before.
Mhm.
Now there's the thing that I see now that could be more of an issue is that we have an excess of information. So everyone's trying to
Interesting.
to grab our tension and so much information is put out there and bombarded, and like we have online access so quick and our attention is being taken away. Our attention is our energy, it's our power. So that's more of like the, so before it was more that people weren't, it was like a taboo, all this stuff.
Yeah.
Now it's super open, everyone's speaking about it, but everyone's giving you tips about what you have to do. And for me, the shift for doing is that there's no right way, there is your way, you know? So what we have to tap into is, so each one of us have a heart portal. That heart, when we shift from this mind conscious, the consciousness from before, which is in the mind, and we tap into our heart and this heart-centered consciousness, and we can access our real truth, our essence, then we understand there's only a right for me, you know, and I have to follow my ways. And then I see it a lot, like I see all the information out there and I'm like, whoa, that's so much, and it's so easy to get trapped into, you know? So um that's what I feel. A lot of people, they're like, you know, it's like how it used to be with diets. You have to eat this and you have to eat that, and it's only this way and it's only that way. And how we really make a shift into ourselves and into the heart is asking ourselves, is this good for me? Is this what I want? Is this what I need now? You know? Mm-hmm.
Well, and to that point too, there are so, and being in this inverted world, let's call it, there are so many people out there in the spiritual energetic realm that I guess are not so great, for lack of a better way of saying it. Or again, how would you encourage people when there's so much information out there, and some of the information is, even though it's spiritually based, attempting to keep you at a lower vibration? How would you encourage people to be discerning, and what to look for? What would you say?
Oh, wow. Um, yeah, that's a very tough question. Um, because because I think I've always been very discerning. So I've known when to stop relationships and when to, even though it's hard because we don't like change, but it hasn't been that hard for me. And I haven't been, you know, had much courting with a lot of spiritual stuff and things like that, like created cords. I've had it with other people. Obviously, we all carry cords and create those attachments, but I would think experience it for, well, first of all, experience things for yourself. You need to test them in yourself. Um, and also, I think when you listen to stuff, how does it feel? You know, is it like draining your energy? Like you need to, because we're energy beings, so we need to start understanding like how does your body, like physically, does your body contract? Is there any part that sort of like is like making you sort of cringe? Is after you've listened to something, is it sort of like, is your head, do you feel really heady, tense in the head or stuff like that? Um does yeah, and your energy feel drained? Are you tired? Are you, because all those things are like, you know, um they're showing us, they're information about our energy. So we need to understand that. I also like sometimes when people, if you have people around that you're gonna go do something and you share that and they tell you don't do that or whatever, I think depends, you know, I would take a second look then at that, because I mean, they might be holding you back from your journey, which that
Mhm.
happens. Yeah.
Yes. Very
So,
excellent. All right. So you have a 6-year-old currently, correct? All right.
mhm.
Tell me about the more of the new kids coming in, how you are parenting, and what parents, who conscious parents, really need to know right now, to embody, because I feel this is so important. So important. All right, you go, mama.
So, First off, before I speak about that, I want to go back
Yeah.
to the last question, and I'm going to talk about, which will link to the children, but about aura transformation, because that to
Yes.
me, I think also to be able to decide, and not only aura transformation is the way that I think we can clear so much of our systems really quickly, but because you're getting an upgrade and a new system, which is crystal, like the one from the kids. But I think we understand what is good for us, the less noise we have. So also like meaning the clearer our system is. So the more beliefs we have, the more we're going to be blinded. The more emotional baggage we have, the more too, the more noise. I see it very much like, you're your body and your energy system. So your aura or energy field, around this bubble around. If it's all muddled around, if it has like tons of like just like all this information, tons of information all over, but like darker information, then we can't really decipher. We can't really know, because there's all this information that's all external, and we don't know what's good for us or not. So the more that we clear this aura, this energy around, the clearer we are, the more we can follow our own intuition, because our intuition is our spirit, it's our higher self. That's what it is. So what can we get spirit or higher self in when we clear this container we're in? Because everyone, we have to understand that we are sort of like our body, which is our house, and then we have a garden around us and a fence. And that fence that can, that garden around, that's our energy field or aura. And that fence for many people, because of what I'll explain now with the children, is breaking down with the change of frequency. So then many more things can come in apart from the ones that we carry, like our karma and everything. Now with the children, so from everyone born before 95, they had this energy structure, this aura around, and it was made up of a certain energy and with a certain consciousness. So that energy structure has a first layer, which is a first layer, which is sort of like our etheric body, and it's our protection, what would give protection to the body. Then there's a second layer, which is our astral layer. That's where all the emotional information and all our karma and everything is located. And this is obviously in the non-visible, but we can all feel it. That's why somebody can feel good to us, give us good
Yes.
vibes or not or whatever. Then we have the lower mental body, which is sort of like where all our memory and everything else is stored. And then we have the higher mental body, which is the last layer. And that's what connects, it's our more spiritual layer and what connects to source. So from 95 on, the indigo children started coming in. And this whole system, instead of having all these layers, which obviously if you have these layers, to be able to get in touch with your intuition takes a long time. You have to travel from out of your body and connect. And that's why it was so hard. If you think about people before trying to
Oh, yeah.
meditate, was so hard. Now people connect quicker because they've lifted many layers. But so yeah, the children that came in 95 on, which were these indigo, didn't have all these layers. So they had their body and they had one layer only. And in that layer,
Oof.
their spirit was already, it wasn't in the body, the spirit, but it was around. There, instead of the higher self being out there, the conscious, it
Jeez.
was around them. So what happens with these children that were indigo? They have a lot more intuition. If your
Mhm.
spirit is close and you don't have so much separation, you have really strong intuitive power. And if you have intuitive power, because with you have a stronger intention, so you have a stronger manifestation power as well, and they had a lot of energy. When you have spirit close to you, you have a lot of energy. If you don't have all these blockages and emotional stuff going on that is dragging you down, you know you're just more energetic. So that's why when these children started coming in, that was when they started coining like ADD,
Yeah.
ADHD, all these things.
Hmm.
And it was just like the system per se, the ideas of the past, the ways we did things, just they didn't fit into that. That was too old. You can't sit a kid with tons of energy in a desk for whatever. We have to change the schooling system. We have to change, the parenting ways. And then after, so the indigo, and then there's, all this, there's transition period. But then around 2009, and so in that time there was like indigos being born, and then the crystals started being born. And these crystal children, The difference from the indigo. So the indigo also were like system busters. So they had like also very challenging, didn't take authority for like, like for people that have indigos, whenever I say their characteristics, they're like, oh yes, I know, like, because they were like, they always find the truth, always want to find the truth of things, didn't comply to
Mm.
the norm, didn't take authority, as something. But then the crystals come in and they're different because the frequency was already, things were in place already. So like the indigo were fighting the system and the crystals come in to start creating the new. And they come in with spirit embodied already. So
Mm.
their higher self in the body. So instead of having their spirit around, it is in there. And why are they called crystals? First, because they have this crystal aura, which is this like, it's like pink crystallization. It's like a crystal, it's impenetrable, that aura. And also because their structure in their body, their cells are crystalline. So they've crystallized. When you crystallize in the body, which many people talk about this, but it's very simple. It's when spirit has come into each one of the cells. So our actual physicality changes, right, into a crystal body. Yeah, so the crystal came in, and they had a very different energy than the indigos, a lot more I mean, an amazing, like incredible consciousness and tons of energy, but a lot more peaceful. They didn't need to fight that much more, and they were like, they're much more focused on like the harmony and creation, but they're also going to be truth seekers. But they're going to start creating what they want and stuff like that. And then from 2012, and they were more sensitive, less. And then from 2012 on, it was like the crystal golden children, which means they're crystal in the same way. They're they have spirit embodied, but they also have the golden energy integrated, like activated within them. And the golden energies are materialization power. And it's also this energy of like joy and whatever. It's the energy that's in the center of the earth. And so on the earth of like this planet. So like this, so like from 2012 on, the kids are like huge energy bombs, super sociable, can materialize. So it's like, and then on, like, it's like, like new models of computers are being delivered, like, more and more according to our evolution,
Yes.
and with more powers every time, with more, and powers meaning this materialization power and everything else. So because they have so much energy, and so they also have to be very, they're very clear in their energy. So they need to have like very truthful communication. You have to be based your communication like with your parents on respect. It's like the things that were before, like parents sometimes lie, or want to like
Oh
hide the
gosh.
truth, or I'll tell
Yes.
you, because if you're not aligned within yourself, even if you're not doing it on purpose, you're like saying one thing but doing the other. This is like the times of the past, so muddled, and the new time children and the new time people, so people that upgrade to the new time, and the clearer you become, you are a master of your own reality. So like you're gonna say, do, and act in accordance, right? It's not gonna be like yes, but really you think no. It's like, and if that happens, they can sense it, and they're gonna start creating imbalance in the environment. They're also an amazing mirror. So like when there's issues with all, they're gonna just, like, people ask me like, if they're so special, why are they creating that? And I'm like, because they're mirroring back what is wrong in our systems. So in our family system, in our community system, in our society system.
Yes.
So they're mirroring back all that so that we can start taking responsibility as parents, as caretakers, as society, and change the way we're doing things, because it does no longer fit. They're going to be lifting constantly the imbalances. And I am crystal, and like I notice how I do that in amongst different environments. People get triggered, it lifts all their shit up, just like, and parents get triggered by their kids all the time. Why? Because they're just mirroring back what they need to be solving and clearing. And so I always say like it's a gift, because they're showing us the path of evolution, and how to become more conscious, but it's happened. It's happened even with people not noticing, of like,
Yep.
there's been so many shifts in ways of schooling. There's been so many shifts in ways of parenting. And I'm not going to get into like specific ways of parenting, but that's really important to as parents to solve our stuff so that we're not limiting the kid
Mhm.
and
Yep.
creating friction in that way, that we speak with more than love, which I think is like, even love is the highest power, but more important for us to understand is this respect,
Mhm.
this form of respect that we give them, um, that we treat them with a respect. I mean, they they have to understand that they're on this physical reality and that there's still things from the system that are changing. So, you can give them um, some of the things that they might really want to be doing that are part of their purpose and stuff like that. They might not be the time yet. And so just to like sort of like loop them in and yeah, be like just very clear with kids. Like I see it with my daughter. It's like you use
Yeah.
less words. I use less words.
Oh gosh,
Very
that's
clear.
nice.
You have this option or that option, or you have, or you do this. These are the consequences for the other. So you actually have like very strong boundaries because they need those to be taken. It's
Okay.
not like wishy-washy. It's clear, and they're going to be clear in that way as well.
Okay, and I would say too that you are still their guardian, even though there's respect and knowing that they're parts that they need to grow into. So it isn't just this free for all. Oh my gosh, I have this crystal child here, so they're going to do whatever they want. Yet I'm still here, and we're still part of this 3D world and 4D world. That I am still very important in this. Let me ask you this, Barbara.
Yeah, if
In
you let
terms,
like them just sorry, if you let them take their
take over.
all their power, they're going to create havoc. It's like, they're like their intention, they're so strong, and if
Mhm.
we and when we understand that we create with our thoughts, with our energy, with everything else, if they can create so quickly, so much. So they also have to be like, contained. We have to create containers for them, safe
Right.
containers.
Because it could be chaotic creation as well. In terms of, I'm going to ask this question. You tell me if it's appropriate for you. In terms of all the vaccinations that are, because I also know with the dark energies, that part of this breaking through is to keep the darkness there. And like the vaccinations for little ones have just increased by a multitude, knowing that if I had children at this point, there isn't that, nope, no way. And also the COVID vaccinations and all that. What do you think of those things?
Um, I think again, people have to tap into what is right for them, and yeah, and explore that part, because I think there is much more than escapes our mind, and I think if somebody's extremely fearful to not have, I don't
That
think
too.
say vaccinations are bad. I'll never say that. I think there's, for me, there's maybe a way of administering, I think more it's like the obligation to make people do things that they wouldn't, and vice versa the other way. If you're very fearful about like getting diseases, and you think vaccines are a solution to that, well, you're working around that with a very different energy, a very different
It's true.
consciousness, you know and vice versa. And that said, I do think to be obliged to do that um is something that I think is tremendously hurts, and um and that there's so much of them. I think we know there's toxicity in them. No, but it's not only vaccines. It's like most people, you can be talking about that and you can be eating shit.
Right. Or
Just to
drinking Coca Cola.
everything. I don't think it's the only thing.
Yes, I
There's
agree.
a lot of, and I don't think you can blame it on any particular thing. I think it's that just makes us a victim, which is the
Mhm.
mentality I sort of
True.
like want to show, like, as part of like my work is about becoming responsible.
Hmm.
So it's like, okay, you have a choice to do things, of how you do things. There's always a solution for things, always. Like, so if we just play that blame game of like, oh, they're making us do this and we're victim to whatever, then we're stuck in a rut where there's no solution to that. If you take responsibility for your energy and seeing things, it's like, okay, things were going to show up because the energy is always going to give. It's always going to show you other ways.
Very nice. Thank you so much for that. All right. So going back to being an aura mediator, knowing that that was, and tell me this is, if I got this right, that you were already experiencing some really great spiritual stuff. Let's put it that way. But that was kind of the breakthrough or the breaking point, or not breaking point, but that really helped you see more.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
There's another. So I've had many different. So I had that point, and I was already like a practitioner working with energy with many people. Then I had a spontaneous sort of like activation where my voice was. It was like a my voice was coded in a certain way, or the energy just flow. Like I brought, it wasn't not my voice started flowing, but it was just that I regained gifts. The more you clear within your
Yeah.
system, the more gifts come back to you, and your innate knowledge, your everything. That. So that was one of my gifts that I bring here, and my voice is coded in a certain way, and it transmits source energy. So it's like sort of like translating, it transmits this because everything is energy. So that the sounds are an energy, they're a frequency. So it transmits that, and it creates shifts for people in their energy system. So what I say that it does mostly, it's like it like shifts a lot of the debris. It heals, it just goes in through. And for different people, it does different things. The energy knows.
So just
So
folks listening to you on the podcast is really good.
yeah.
Essentially, I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
so do you, okay, I want to go into the Just Be practice in a moment. Yet, is there anything else you want to talk about the aura, being an aura mediator? I know with that, that's a face-to-face process, correct?
Yeah, it's in person, word
Okay.
transformation. About word transformation that I want to say.
Yeah.
Um, so it's a massive process. So what's happening is you're going from that old structure, that old aura that I was saying. That's
Mhm.
basically, what I want to say is a lot of people, many of you are suffering and are like doing therapies left and right. And what's happened, it doesn't really, you might be good, it doesn't hold the energy. You might feel like you're like always on the same, you know, rock, or that you do things, but it's not really evolving you, and you end up in. So what's happening is you still have that old energy structure, that old aura, and in a way, it's like it's broken, it's whatever. So like it's like energy comes in and everything comes out. Energy comes in and everything comes out, and it has like this still like the karma. So it's like all the emotional and karma stuff. There's so much that it's still everything holding you back and not being able
Yeah.
to. So what aura transformation does is it's an upgrade. So it's like leaving that aura structure. For that, there has to be a massive healing, right? Which is part of the process. And you leave that aura structure. So you're letting go of all your karma and everything. And then without an aura structure, your consciousness potential, so your spirit, but it's your consciousness potential. It's all of that you know that you can be, and it's like your gifts, your talents, your everything can start coming into the body. It's the spirit coming back into the body. And then which is incredible in people.
I know I'm sitting here going, oh, is that all, Barbara? Come on. It's great.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's an amazing experience to get like your energy back, the energy
Hmm.
that you've been separated from for so from always,
Hmm.
let's say. So, it's the energy that like of wholeness. It's your spirit. So, um it comes back into your body, into your system, and then you create that, and then what's created is that crystal structure, which the kids have, which is this high frequency. So what happens, this structure is high frequency. The energies of the earth now, the energies that are coming into the earth now are high frequency. So for everyone that's like having, that's super important, also ascension symptoms, and that feel
Oh,
wiped
yeah.
out, and they're like,
Oh,
oh,
yes.
another sort of flare, or there's this, or there's that, and that's like
Hmm.
all these energies are like. So all of a sudden, that's not going to happen because you have a high frequency container. You have this that is allowing for these energies to come in, the energies of evolution to come in and to establish themselves in the system correctly. Whereas the other one is sort of wiping out. Also, there's just like with the other aura structure, there's so much entanglement between, because that's the old platform of consciousness, and between people. So there's like all these energetic hooks that are created. When you have the new structure, that sort of uh, doesn't happen, because you become more aware of,
Got it.
because in the old structure you have so much, that you don't, you're so muddled, you're so, there's so much, like I'll see people when I'm working with people, they just have so much energy all around here, everywhere, they can't, all these, so all of a sudden that's all lifted, and then you're created with this space around, right? And all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I can hear, I can think my own thoughts. So
Oh
most
my
of the
gosh.
time the thoughts that you have are no longer
Mm-hmm.
there because they're,
Mm-hmm.
and so you're not creating, so like all this energetic hooks and all this interference, let's say, of your own system is sort of gone.
Gone.
You can start rediscovering yourself. And so that's why when you ask like what can you do to decipher and this and that, actually I would say aura transformation is incredible, and not everyone is ready because you have to, different people, or is called for it. It just depends, different people. So then you would do something else and take, different things. But I think for the people that are ready now, we speak about this because it's just giving you a whole new container for you to evolve with. And what happens is like once you're in that new container and stuff like that, it gives you, so that crystallization process, so that process of spirit coming into the cells keeps going, and the energies always keep giving, right? With your, it just keeps evolving for you. It's like the energies don't
Nice.
get stale. So, and what's
Ah,
amazing is that it is this huge consciousness expansion. So then instead of being in this old platform of consciousness with the old structure, which is, you don't really evolve there because it's so karmic based that you're always in that same wheel. In this one, it's like you're finally evolving. And one just gets a lot from it because you get a lot of strength, you understand your energy, you have just like a bigger sense of bliss because you have spirit within your body, It's also the fusion of, so all the, in the old structure you have all the different chakras, so energy centers, and in the new one with this, it all, they all come together into the heart. So that's how these children are. So it's like being heart centered. And then how I see this, what happens is there's no, when you have so many chakras, it's so easy to get unbalanced and to, you have the
yep.
lower chakras that pull you somewhere, then the mind, that pull you another one. But then all of a sudden, if you're completely just, if you're completely condensed into your body, in your heart, which is your connection to source, to everything,
Um,
you simplify your system.
I was going to use the word
And you
simplify.
simplify your experience of life. And
Mm-hmm.
that's, I think, our evolution, where we're going. Like there's been a lot of like, go out and further. And I think for me, it's all about going in, and it's all about coming home, and home is the heart, and home is the key to everything. And the heart is the key to everything, the key to all our knowledge, all the being that we are, all our wisdom. So it's, so when you're from that space, that's what we were talking about before, if we're from that space, um, change and evolution uh, isn't hard. But if we're from the mind, if we're like, which most of us are in this heart, unless we've like made the shift, um, it's hard because we don't want change because we're stuck in that ego, we're stuck in that mind and that way of doing and that rational. So yeah.
I would say great explanation. Ah, man, I so enjoy this time that we are in and the elevation of consciousness. And it's just, it's awe
Yeah.
inspiring. It's great. All right. Barbara, what kind of practice do you want to do for us today? Thank you.
Just be practice.
I can do an energy transmission,
Sounds
uh,
great.
which yeah. So I'm just going to transmit certain energies. And most of it, even, the energies, I'm going to use my voice, but I don't even need to use my voice. It's a transmission of the heart. So I
Oh,
think those energies sort of like, yeah, are just emanated. We're constantly putting out a frequency into this earth. So, but for everyone here, we just want to close your eyes and notice where you're at. So notice your breath. Is it relaxed? Is it tense? Notice your body. Is it tense? Is it relaxed? Hmm. Are you Just noticing, are you happy to be here? What are you trying to get from this? Ashima hakora te no koa makakora te ni ko kasaranai mo kokoa karate ara no ko kasaranai mo koa I karata taku saranai mo koa I karana koa saranai mo toaka. So sometimes it goes past the rational mind. O homakare te ara no koa kasirinia ko makate ara no koa I sarana koa makare te ara no koa ka aka 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 aka. So breathing down, breathing deeper. Ahoma koa terra no koa masora nai mo koa terra no koa I saranai mo koa I kara koa I kasaranai mo koa I karanea koa sarana. So breathing deeper into your belly without forcing it, just allowing oh hamakara toa me kara terra no koa saranai mo koa I karana koa kayara na koa kasaranai mo koa kiara na koa saranai mo to. So breathing into the heart and acknowledging that heart center. Ahomakatara no koa I kiara koa I kasaranai moro koa I karano koa saranai moro koa I karanao ko saranai mo koa te ara no koa saranai moro koa I karanao. Breathing in. Into your body and deeper into your navel, into the bottom of your bum, noticing how it relaxes deeper into your seat. Ahoma kare te kona kare kokoa saranai mokoi karateara no kokoa saranai mokoi karanea ko sarana. So it is from the body, from this groundedness that you're able to create. Ahoma kare te ara no koa saranai mokokera te ara no koa ika saranai mokokera na koa saranai modoa. Focusing on your creation on this earth. Ahomakara to your connection. Ahomakara to ikara no koa saranai mokoko aratara yakokoa saranai mokoko areterana. You might see roots coming out of your feet and into the earth. Omoko aratera no koi saranai makara ka aka 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 aka. Breathing in, grounding your feet deeper into this earth. You might be feeling tickles on your feet or somewhere in your body. Maybe a little bit more space around the ears. So homa karatera no koa saranai murokoi karatera no koi saranai murotoi rana 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 rana. So aligning all the spine, opening up the heart chakra. Shira na koi de kerekera ko koa saranai murotoi karatera no koi karatera no koi karakesana. Noticing the power of your heart. Just with intention. Ahikara no koi karakera no koi saranai koi reke kawakuma karakea saranoi maratera no koi tia ka 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 ka. just grounding into your body, taking a few deep breaths. And for some of you, you might be feeling a bit of a feeling in your heart center or even in your throat. Good. Breathing deeper. Allowing for the body and the whole energy field to relax even further. We've been under so much stress, so much doing. So just allowing for a little bit of the being to come in. Allowing for the wonder of life. Blessing for being on this planet. And moving all this energy through your body and into the ground, into the earth, acknowledging every part of your body, every cell in your body, and sending this frequency to every cell you might be feeling as it's lifting up, lighting up. Thank you.
Okay to open eyes now. Super good. Thank you so much for talking about your work, talking about your gifts, let's say, call that, and then bringing your gift to all of us here at the end. That was very, and I do my best when I'm doing the practice at the end, because I have to come back in a moment and close out the show. So I really try anytime I go there to really stop myself and just be in the moment. And part of me, I let go so much. I'm like, oh gosh, I hope she tells me to come back because I might not. She might have to end the show herself. So Barbara, thank you so much. And I will have your website listed here and multiple your Instagram and your Facebook page, but your website is barbaracanals.com. Did I say that right this time too?
Yeah.
Hey, such a pleasure to meet you.
Canals
Yes.
doesn't have an E. Yeah.
Yes, it's Canals.
Yeah.
So you will see it if you're watching this in video, and on audio, it will be posted below. Hey, thank you so much for being here. And as y'all know, next week, back here at the same time, same place. Yay. Yay. Say
Thank
bye.
you. Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.
Y'all, find me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, True Social, as well as Rumble, BitChute, YouTube, plus a plethora of other audio directories like Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So like, subscribe, do it all. See ya.